This week we saw the passing of one of the great writers in the comic industry, Peter David. His talent and his understanding of comic storytelling is definitely going to be missed. But with that, we also have in theaters, as we speak, the MCU's version of the Thunderbolts movie. But did you know that Peter David was actually the first person to put pen to paper that made the Thunderbolts a reality? We're diving into how the original twist in The Incredible Hulk number 449 stacks up against Kurt Busiek's epic run, who traditionally is given credit as the creator of the Thunderbolts, and how Peter David's version shaped the MCU's anti-hero squad today. Plus, there's a little bit, of course, a controversy regarding who gets credit, and it's going to make you rethink what you thought you knew. So let's talk about Peter David and the beginning of the Thunderbolts in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Comical Opinions. We're going to talk about a pretty interesting topic, I think, but a little bit of a sad one. On May 24th, 2025, we lost Peter David, and I think the reaction across the board has been pretty much a somber one. He was a legend, reshaping characters like the Hulk, Wonder Woman, and even Captain Marvel to a certain extent with stories that mixed grit, humor, and heart. He really got the essence, I think, of more than anybody what made Marvel and in some cases DC Comics great. Fans and creators like Kurt Busiek and Rob Liefeld flooded their social media accounts with tributes, and it's no wonder. David tackled big themes like trauma and identity that still resonate in today's superhero stuff. But one of his boldest moves was the creation of the Thunderbolts back in 1997, a team that turned the superhero game upside down. Let's start where it all began, because this is where it gets pretty magical. It all begins in 1997. Marvel is pretty much in a mess after the Onslaught crossover, which killed, and I say that in quotes, the Avengers, the Fantastic Four, and a bunch of other characters, leaving a big hero gap. Peter David, who's doing a fantastic job on The Incredible Hulk, drops Hulk number 449. He rolls out this shiny new hero team, and we'll say that sort of loosely, the Thunderbolts, led by a gentleman called Citizen V. The characters include Meteorite, Goliath, Mach 1, Songbird, and Techno. They show up to brawl with the Hulk, looking as powerful and as epic as any team should, but then, here's a twist. The last pages hit you with a surprise that these aren't heroes, they're the masters of evil in disguise, led by Baron Zemo, scheming to scam the world's trust. Now, if you haven't read The Incredible Hulk number 449, I highly recommend it. It is peak Peter David. And I'm not sure how exactly he pulled it off, but he did. It's gritty, suspenseful, and totally upends what you expect from a superhero team. The Thunderbolts aren't the main event, the Hulk is. David uses Bruce Banner's paranoid, nobody's legitimate vibe to make you side-eye the perfect squad. When Zemo's mask drops, it's a straight-up gut punch, making you question what a hero even is. There's this tiny bit with Songbird, like she's apparently not fully on board, that hints at something deeper. It's not about character arcs, it's about planting a wild idea. Villains playing heroes. The one-and-done story creates a spark that lights a fire. And who takes that spark and runs with it? Well, in this case, it's Kurt Busiek and artist Mark Bagley, who turned it into a full-on blaze with the Thunderbolts series, kicking off in April of 1997. Busiek takes David's idea, villains faking it as heroes, and builds a whole world around it, making the Thunderbolts Marvel's coolest anti-hero team, very much in the line of the Suicide Squad. Unlike David's Hulk-focused setup, Busiek puts the Thunderbolts front and center, and Thunderbolts number 1 picks up with Zemo's plan to take over the world by posing as heroes. But Busiek's all about the redemption arc. Can the bad guys become good? Busiek dives deep and focuses inside the heads of the individual characters. Songbird is aching for a fresh start after her past misdeeds. Mach 1's beating himself up over his days as the Beetle. Moonstone is straight up scheming to backstab everyone she can, and that makes perfect sense. And Atlas is torn about sticking with Zemo. By issue number 12, most of the team ditches Zemo, choosing to be real heroes. And that's the moment the team is defined as an anti-hero team rather than as a villain team in disguise. Busiek's run goes for years, over 200 issues across volumes, mixing action, drama, and a team aesthetic that's like a darker version of the Avengers. He even throws in new characters like the young hero Jolt to keep it fresh. David started the fire, but Busiek is the one who made it work as a standalone team. So which one is better? Peter David's version of the Thunderbolts or Kurt Busiek's version? Honestly, that's not a fair question because they're so very different. David's Thunderbolts are a one-issue shockwave, all about the twist, the surprise. Villains as heroes and nobody saw it coming, seen through the Hulk's skeptical point of view. The tone is gritty, almost like a war story, and the characters are sketches that there to sell the deception, not steal the show. It's like a trailer for a big movie. It hooks you, but it's not the whole story. So it's got the heart and the core of the idea, but it doesn't have all the flesh and the meat on the bone that you need to make it something substantial and memorable beyond that quick tease. On the other hand, Busiek makes the Thunderbolts the stars of the show. His series is a big character-driven saga about redemption and team drama. Songbird and Mach 1 go from plot devices to complex heroes, while Zemo's schemes stir up internal fights and create all types of interpersonal conflict. The tone is more classic in terms of superhero storytelling, big action but with moral grayness. Busiek weaves them into the Marvel Universe, battling characters like Graviton and crossing with the Avengers. For example, here's the quick rundown. As terms of scope, David's version is a one-issue, one-off, and it's Hulk-focused. Busiek's version is a year-long series. In tone, David's sneaky and suspenseful. There's a big reveal there that it's a build-up to a mystery. Busiek's version is redemptive and dynamic. In terms of characters, David's are rough drafts specifically built for the twist. Busiek's are full-on protagonists. David has the hook. Busiek has the full developed heart. So that brings us to the MCU's version of the Thunderbolts, which released this month. And it's a critical, I would say okay hit, but it's definitely not bringing in the cash. So whether or not they stick around as a team is yet to be determined. We have Florence Pugh as Yelena Belova, Sebastian Stan as Bucky Barnes, and Julia Louis-Dreyfus as Valentina Allegra de Fontaine. Now, pay attention to that one name. This movie's got Peter David's DNA all over it. His big idea here is that villains or anti-heroes posing as a team is basically the backbone of his original idea. The film is gritty, morally messy, and you have folks like Taskmaster and Ghost answering to Valentina's shady machinations and her back deals and her hidden plans. That feels a lot like Allegra de Fontaine is taking the place of Zemo as you would have seen it in the original Hulk number 449. But Busiek's influence on what we get in the MCU is pretty undeniable. Yelena's search for purpose after the Black Widow film and Bucky's redemption from his Winter Soldier days, that is a direct parallel to Songbird and Mach 1 in their arc that Busiek created. The team's mistrust and clashing personalities scream Busiek's focus on interpersonal dynamics and personal drama. The MCU's government-controlled setup pulls from later Thunderbolts comics, but Busiek's redemption theme is the emotional glue that holds everyone together. David's spark and Busiek's depth make the Thunderbolts what it is today combined. So if the question is, which one is directly inspirational for the film? The answer is it's a little bit of both. And here we get to the controversial part of Peter David's legacy with respect to the Thunderbolts, and unfortunately it's an all too common one. He created the Thunderbolts, or at least the original concept for the team, but his name's barely mentioned in the MCU Thunderbolts advertisements, the hype. I think he might be mentioned in the credits, but just as a passing note, and only through other creators like Kurt Busiek who are calling Marvel out or are shouting out Peter David's name is anybody even aware that Peter David is responsible for the original idea. Marvel is making billions off of David's ideas, and he's not getting the credit that he deserves or deserved now that he's passed. His health struggles and that GoFundMe for medical bills are just heartbreaking, while his creations fuel Blockbuster. David gave us one of the greatest runs on the Hulk, created Spider-Man 2099, he came up with the original idea for the Thunderbolts and more, yet he has faced money troubles because he just doesn't have the financial backing from the companies that have benefited from his ideas. It's a wake-up call for comics to step up and honor their creators. And, if you think I'm off base here, let me know in the comments below. At the end of the day, Peter David is going to be missed, not because of just what he did for comics, but because he was a heck of a nice guy and he really cared about his friends, his family, and everyone he worked with. His creation, which is the Thunderbolts, were a stroke of genius, a one-issue twist that shook up what your perception of a superhero comic could be. Kurt Busiek took that idea and built a saga full of redemption and heart, making Thunderbolts a Marvel mainstay for a very long time. Together, they shaped the MCU Thunderbolts, blending David's subversive twist ideas with Busiek's character depth. And as we celebrate Peter David, let's push for creators like him to get the credit where it's deserved. So is there any controversy between Peter David and Kurt Busiek? No, as a matter of fact, they seem to be well and truly friends on this topic. The controversy is that Marvel is not doing what they need to do to take care of the creators who made them, in some cases, billions. But you know what? What do you think? Did Peter David's idea or Kurt Busiek's arc hit better for you with respect to the Thunderbolts? Which did you like better? Tell me in the comments below. And by the way, if you're interested in learning more about Peter David and want to know some more interesting little tidbits about what we talked about here in this video, check out our weekly newsletter where we discuss this topic at depth. Link is down in the description. So, thank you very much for joining, and stay tuned through the outro for more comic commentary and reviews just like this one.